themselves as first tribute for the day.
I'll do it.
Cool. I love willing volunteers. MRG?
Yep.
Okay. I'm learning very slowly. Week 2 pen. All right. Do you happen to have any pictures of the actual pen?
No.
Okay. No worries. Actually, if you wouldn't mind just like resubmitting with the pictures at your earliest convenience, that'd be lovely.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
It's on my desk here.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, don't forget about it. It's all good. Just leave me a note and just remind me you're just uploading it with the pictures. All right. So does anybody have any initial thoughts and comments on the pen? I feel like some of these renders could be like a teeny bit closer. But I really like whatever texture you had on the tip of this. I don't know why, it's just like a very satisfying sort of gold color. I also think the plastic came out pretty nicely, where it looks like that nice like smoky gray, and you can like see inside it, but it like catches the highlights like pretty nicely of the light.
Yeah, I made a texture that was gray.
Yeah.
And then I lowered the transmission.
Okay.
Oh, look, there it is.
What? Oh. What was your name for attendance? Isaiah. Thank you. Tra-la-la.
I'm just trying to see if I find an online picture.
It's all good. All right, so did you add any, you said you had like a gray map. Did you have any maps for like scratches or bumps or anything like that?
The only thing I did that for was the metal piece at the clip.
This,
the clip.
where am I going? This thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the only part that really had it.
Gotcha.
It's a relatively new pen.
Okay. It might be nice to like maybe go in and like take some like other pens you have that are maybe more used and like sort of try to copy the detail from that. If you can.
I mean, I could try to add
it's all
like,
good.
fingerprints.
Yeah, just like maybe try to add in some like fingerprints and scratches or stuff.
Maybe on the rubber grip piece.
Yeah, like on the grip, or like, I mean, you could even add some like ink stains up here, something like that.
I guess, but like.
Yeah, I know. This is like it's like one of those weird assignments because like half the pens are new, but it's like, oh, like put scratches and stuff on.
Yeah, like the only
I recognize it's weird.
Like texture was the metal piece because
Yeah.
it was slightly like.
Yeah.
Like.
I wish if that's the only place where there's texture, I wish there was like a render showing that off more clearly.
Fair enough.
The other thing is so is this ink tube in the original pen? Is this like clear or is this?
It's clear
with black ink?
But I also noticed that when it was black, where the ink was, it was relatively like. All I know is that started off as a mistake, but I kept it because it would resemble ink anyway.
Yeah.
And since it's not a separate piece inside, I just left it as like I forgot that when I put the color map or displacement map, it's transparent, so I made it black.
Gotcha.
So it was gonna be originally clear.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean I was actually gonna say like that would be nice, especially if the original pen is clear. To actually like go back in and just like add a little cylinder on the inside for ink.
Yeah. I was thinking of some quick fixes I could possibly do is just make a separate piece and then shrink this down slightly.
Yeah, I mean I think there's like a lot of stuff. I think the basic textures that you have on here are like really nice. Like the grip feels like a sort of nice like rubbery grip. Like this feels like a good clear plastic. Yeah, I just think there maybe there's like a few areas like especially like the inkwell that like if you refined it like a little bit or like added some additional like scratchy textures wherever, like that would make this pen like really pop, because I do think that like the basic textures you have are like pretty nice looking
too. That's the other piece.
Oh yeah.
Fits texture. It's supposed to be slightly rusty or like
gross. Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be again like be nice to like see that closer up in a render. But yeah, anyone else have any thoughts or comments on the pen? Cool. Anyone else want to volunteer their own pen? Wahaha. Cool. I saw your hand first. Are you Tyrone? Yes, okay. I'm not going crazy. Ah, extract. So did you have any specific questions, or just like wanted to look at the pen? Yeah. Cool, cool. Extract better. Ah. Alright, so this is the pen in question. Cool, cool. Alright, and here is the final pen render. Alright, so does anybody have any thoughts and comments between this rendered pen and this original orthographic pen? So look,
I mean, I think the textures on the pen look pretty nice. I think the only like critique would be like it's not really the same shape, but you know, it still looks like a pen. It still looks pretty realistic.
yeah. Yeah, that was actually gonna be my comment too. Was like, strictly speaking, you're trying to like recreate this pen, and like the grip detail is like reversed kind of here. But yeah, I mean, I think the basic textures and stuff look pretty good. One thing you might consider doing, I like the way this green thing looks. It looks like some kind of like vial of poison, but like in the best way possible. But I think one thing you could do if you try to make this, if you're trying to make this like more similar to this pen in here, it looks like the green color might be maybe a little bit too lime. But also if you just took the, once you made this glass, if you just took the roughness down a little bit, that would actually help sort of make this frosted effect here. So that might be something to consider. And then maybe same thing up here. This actually feels perhaps a little bit too transparent. But I do, like, part of me is like, it's more transparent than this is, but also I do like being able to see inside the pen. So I'm kind of torn on that. Anybody else have any thoughts and comments on the texture? What am I doing?
At first glance, I thought that was the real pen.
Nice. That's always a fun thing to have happen. And it looks like you did go through and like actually made the shadow transparent, so that's cool. Yeah, I think I like it. So I really like how you went through, and it looks like you sort of made like the inside of the letters like a little bit more worn. It almost feels like if there was, it's like when they were applying this logo, if they stenciled it and like put paint over it, like the paint would be thicker towards the outside of the stencil, but maybe like thinner towards the inside. So like I would kind of buy that as like being a thing. It looks cool. And then you also like chipped away at some of the stuff here, a little bit down here. So that's all nice stuff. It might be nice. It's all, it's kind of hard to maybe tell from the reference pictures, but it feels like maybe there could be like a tiny bit of bump where the words are, but also maybe not, because this is like maybe just like the tiniest bump ever, but like yeah, there's really not much there. But either way, I mean, I like the sort of wear and stuff that you've added here. I'm always a fan of people like switching the text. We enjoy lucrative deals. Amazing. That feels like the most legit bank pen ever. But yeah, and I think, where's the first render? I think this scratch maybe feels like a little bit aggressive and intense. Like it's kind of hard, I think, to find scratches that are that deep on a pencil. So I mean, I think like the placement and stuff seems fine for like, you know, if you like scuffed your pencil or something, like dropped it on the ground or like scuffed it, whatever. That doesn't seem unreasonable. I just think like maybe make that a little bit less intense, then it would actually like show up more realistically, if that makes sense. This is a neat view though, because you can see the light coming in through the pencil, or the pen. And this one I like because you can see inside the pen as well. But yeah, I mean, I think overall, like, this looks pretty nice, and like this little scratch here is like, it's like deep, but I feel like every once in a while I do see like a pen with a really deep scratch like this, and I think the positioning is like what sells it for me is like the positioning, the sort of the shape of the scratch, and the fact that there's only one deep scratch like that. If there was like a bunch of them, I'd say it's really unrealistic, but this I believe would maybe just be like, what if I don't know, like accidentally dropped a pocket knife or something on my pen as I was juggling it? I don't know, but I don't know why that's an example I came up with, but like, you know, there was like one severe incident to cause one extreme scratch. I think is like more believable than having like a lot of really deep scratches on a pen, because that would be like, are you chopping it with like a machete or something? I don't know. But yeah, any other thoughts and comments on this pen? Cool.
I think the middle plastic bit is a little shorter than the original picture. It may just be some perspective thing, but like when I look at the proportions of the picture there in comparison, like when it's like assembled, it seems a little bit like.
It does feel like it might be a little bit shorter. Yeah, it's hard to tell. I guess I don't have any of the reference pictures like right in the pen, but yeah, it might be a little bit shorter, but yeah. I really like the way the grip texture. It's always like weird to make rubber grip textures. Like, I don't know why. It's just like kind of awkward, but I think this one came out really nicely. But yeah. Any other comments? All right. Anybody else want to volunteer the project? Did I see? What was your name? Julian. Too many things open. Are you?
I submitted it to you on the Blackboard.
Okay. Okay. Wait. What are your initials? Julian. JC. Or JMC. Okay. Aha. Thank you. Big pen. All right. So here's the pen. I still like that it's called Click Stick. I like it. It's something to, this seems like a silly thing that like someone would name a pen for a class project that like somehow passed through multiple layers of management for like mass production. Anywho. Cool. I like how you just duplicated it like a bunch of times. Alright, so any initial reactions to the renders here?
Looks real.
That one I had a question on.
Yeah.
So when I rendered it, that's supposed to be like a blue plastic table background, and it kept coming out white. I don't know why.
That's weird.
And you can see the see-through like.
Yeah, what the heck?
See through it initially. So that's the thing.
Do you have that in a Maya file? Because I'm actually curious now. Like, is that...
Yeah, the Maya file should be.
Alright, let me see.
I tried messing around with it, just kept coming in white.
Transmissions here. It's nothing like inherently weird. You were using Arnold, I take it?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see what happens. After it gives 10 errors for me not... Okay. For the sake of argument, did you try restarting or like closing and restarting Maya after this happened? Did you try closing and restarting Maya at all?
Yes.
Okay. It was still being stupid. Were you using the Arnold render view or like the default?
The Arnold.
Okay. That's weird. It seems to be working here. And this is like the same file you were rendering with, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. That's really weird. If you happen to have it and on like a computer... What the heck? How are you lighting this? This is area lights. Interesting. If you happen to have this on a computer where it's doing that, I can take a look, but I mean, it seems to be working fine here. It's a little weird that it's not getting any shadows on it. Unless... casting shadows. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to take a look at that in the actual, when it's like actually having issues. But if you can reproduce it, like let me know and I'll wander over. It's very weird. The other day, yesterday I like broke Maya like super bad. It like uninstalled Arnold and just like did a bunch of other weird stuff. It was like super broken. I had to like restart my computer to get it to work. I was 5 seconds away from redoing Maya. Yeah, so I think it seems like the positioning and stuff of the texturing and like the actual textures themselves definitely look good. I think the lighting might be a little bit blown out. Especially like right here, like maybe it's like it feels maybe it's like a little bit too bright, like a little bit too bright, too white, and kind of the same thing. It looks like on the table maybe as well, but you have shadows here. That's really weird.
I think I might have put the lights I was using too close.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that was gonna be my thought because you can see these really hot highlights and then the edges are kind of in shadow. So yeah, maybe just like try moving the lights away if you ever re-render this. But yeah, so I mean, I think I would have. So where's your actual pen? So if you look at the actual pen, and I think it's part of this is like grain of salt because like the lighting is different between this picture and the renders. But there's like very subtle sort of highlights here. And then one thing that would have actually been really cool to see, so if you zoom in and like look at this sort of click stick logo thing here, do you have any kind of like bump map on this at all?
No, just flat.
Yeah, so I'd recommend, I think if you want to do a resubmit for this, like throw in a bump map here for the click stick logo, and maybe also a map for the roughness, because you can see there's like a very, I guess, sort of clear difference between. And it's definitely indented, but like inside it almost looks like it's a little bit smoother and like shinier. Like you do get those nice sort of highlights within the letters. So that might be a fun thing to play with and see if you can get in your renders. That would make the pen look really cool. I am quite fond of how you actually like modeled in the ink and then how you made it like a little bit uneven. What's that? Oh, I see. Nice. That's. I was like. That's really funny. The ink looks nice, actually, like when you look at, because it has that like, it does have that like little red shininess, like where if you know, write with it and then like look at it sideways, like that's a nice touch. But yeah, and then I mean, I think one other thing, I mean, this is like, your original pen doesn't seem to be, you know, battered to death or anything like that. It does look like there's a little smudge or something here, so it might be trying to nice to like, throw in a few of the other like smudgies or something, but I mean, I think overall this looks pretty good. And then like, actually, so like another thing with like, a lot of times with this plastic, it's more, I guess, apparent on this image, but it's semi-uncommon to get like perfectly smooth plastic. Like this is actually like, this plastic has a little bit of roughness to it. So one thing you might consider doing is just like making a really subtle noise bump map in Photoshop. And just like applying it at a very low level. Like you're not looking for like, you know, crazy bumps, but just like a tiny bit of that would actually help break up the surface and like it would ruffle that little specular highlight really nicely. And then same thing here. It does look like there's like a little bit rough. But I think overall, again, like this looks pretty nice. This is, yeah, and then like in here would be fun to play with. Again, you can, I mean, this is like one area we can really see that like smooth texture for the press fit of the pen on the inside, and then like that really rough texture. Maybe try to get in like that Bic logo in there as well. That'd be cool. Especially because it's like a relatively simple pen model. I say simple mostly just because it doesn't have a bunch of threads in it, but yeah, I mean, I think like overall this looks pretty nice. Anyone else have any thoughts, comments, questions? All right. Anyone else want to volunteer their project? Random selection it is. And I don't feel like unzipping files because I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna randomly look at this one because it exists. Alright, so anyone have any thoughts and comments on the textures of this pen? Alright. Say again? Wait, sorry, you said the shadow... Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, so the first thing I notice when I look at this is I would be willing to bet that this is done with at least default Maya lighting, and possibly, wait, which one am I looking for? And possibly, oh, I see. Possibly like Blins and Lamberts, although I could be wrong about the second one. But there's definitely like default spotlights. So spotlights are like, when I look at the renders, there's one like shining straight down from the top that's giving you this really hard shadow here. And then there's one from the side, which again gives you that really hard shadow. That's like the number one thing where like, that's usually what makes me suspect that there was default Maya textures and stuff used. Because I'm nosy. And then blends. So yeah, I think this one should just have a little bit more, I mean, just like update it to like Arnold or one of the other things and add in maps. That's most of my comments for that one. Add in just like any kind of texture mapping. So that would be like making a file texture and then adding in, so like that little checkerboard thing on the side, you should be able to grab a file and grab the pen render itself. And just select your file and then it'll show up on your pen. But yeah. So if you, I'm not going to go over like a whole lot about adding textures or whatever right now, but if you have questions, there's a bunch of tutorials like online on YouTube, and then I also have office hours tomorrow from noon to 3:30ish, if you want to stop by, if you have questions about stuff. But yeah, with that, did you have any other like questions about the assignment or things?
How would you like put the little stickers on? Like input an image and put it on there? How do you do that?
Yeah. So let me, I guess make a sphere, it'll be easier. Alright, so you just assign a new material. Well, if you need a new material, in this case I do. And if you're using like Arnold, you should use the Arnold materials in here. So just do standard surface shader, and then for color, you would just want to click on this little box on the side, this like little checkerboard thing. Anytime you see this, it means you can map in like a file texture or like whatever. So click that, it'll pull up this thing, this little window, and then you can just select file and select a random image to put in. In this case, I just grabbed one of the renders, so you can see your pen is now sort of showing up on this sphere. So when you render that, it should show up. But yeah, I mean, that's the basics of mapping and textures. Just like, again, anywhere there's like that little checkerboard symbol next to a attribute, you can map in file texture or like a noise map, like whatever you need. But yeah. All right, anyone else want to volunteer their project? Cool. What was your initials? NGW. Apparently, I very much prefer small details. Haha. Cute. Alright, so here is pieces of the pen in question. Oh, this pen. I remember this. cool. And renders of said pen. My first thought is like, dang, this is a nice looking pen.
That's the render?
Yeah. Yeah, like, this looks really nice. I think it's like a combination of stuff that makes this look really nice. Like, it looks like you textured this with an HDR, I assume? Yeah. So whatever HDR you chose, I think it gives like good lighting and like does like nice highlights on your pen. But then also your textures are really nice. So like you have the, you got this like little line down the, whatever this thing is, the like clip thing. And that like affects the text in the bump map, or in the, what am I saying? Sorry, it affects the text in the logo. And then like overall it looks like your textures are really nice. Like how the plastic looks like plastic. This up here looks really nice. I just like really enjoy like the sort of white, green, and reddish sort of highlights here. Grip texture also looks really good. Yeah. So did you have any particular questions, or just like fair? No, I mean I think this looks really nice, and I like that you have the separate ink from the tube, and you can see the ink in the tube. Yeah. So this is like, I like this. This is like a little like scratches here, or like what?
No, it's just the lengthening.
Gotcha. It looks cool. I was gonna say it might be nice to go in and like throw in a few scratches. And then the only other thing that I can see like off the top of my head, so this bump map is like a little bit grainy along the sides. And it's like honestly like a fairly minor thing. I saw you put your textures in here. Let me. Pen stamp. What am I looking for? Grip?
Yeah, probably.
Grip bump. There we go. Okay. Alright, so normally for bump maps, you want to start them out at 50% gray. Because the way they work, so a bump map, it says 50% gray is like do nothing. That's just the model as it is. Colors tending towards white, so anything lighter, is going to be a raised detail, and then anything that's darker than 50% gray is going to be a lower, or like a indented detail. And it doesn't, honestly, like that doesn't seem to be causing like huge issues with anything. My suggestion was actually going to be going through, if you add like a tiny bit of blur, the dumb thing that I usually do is I'll just like throw in a 50%, like if I'm in Photoshop, I'll just like throw in a 50% gray layer, add in like whatever bump detail, and then I'll just do like a inner glow on the object just to like feather the edges slightly. Totally better ways to do that, but I just work like a crazy person in Photoshop. So I'm just going to say, just go in and be like, aha, gray, just manually set this to be 50%, set that gray, and then I'm just going to doodle like whatever here, and again, I'll just like, actually, I'll do two versions and like actually render this like a real person. Alright, so I'm just going to go through, I'll add like a crappy inner glow to this. Alright. Actually, for once did what I wanted. Basically just like, make sure that it's set to normal, and then just, if you set 50% gray, it's basically just going to like blend it with your background. So I'm just going to hit OK, and I'll save this as ugly bump. PNG. I usually do this, like, unless I want a really hard edge on my bump, but I just help that if, I find that helps ever so slightly, just like feathering stuff a little bit, so that it's less harsh of an edge. Like if you, so like on the render, there's, you can sort of see that like little pixely lines a little bit. Adding that feather will sort of help get rid of that. Again, like tiny things. Where am I going? Ah. Holy crap. Wait, why am I doing Redshift right now? What am I doing? Alright. Sorry, just like a quick demo of that. Sorry, 5 seconds. Source engine. Where did I save my ugly bump thing? Whatever. All right, I'll come back to this in like 2 minutes because I'm gonna do a thing in Maya anyway. All right. So did anyone else want to look at their files? Anyone? All right. What was your name?
Sword.
Sword. Okay. Let's see if I can actually find your initials. What's your last name? All right, so your SNS?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so any particular questions or just wanted to look at the pen?
Well, I want you to take a look at the renders. I want to know if you could tell me how to reduce the grain.
Yes. So that's actually funny. That's actually segues into like one of the things I was gonna do this week anyway. All right, so I think slightly brighter lighting would benefit this. But yeah, like so like the grain like under here. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah. So let me run through real quick. So I will totally just do my. Where did I actually save this really quick? The time has come to actually do Maya things. Documents. Oh, I see. Oops. Source images. Ugly. All right. Just save the PNG. All right. For some reason, I'm like kind of hell-bent on doing this weird bump map thing. All right. So here's the ugly bump map we have on. So you can see, I did like kind of a gross job feathering the edge. But you can see like, so here's the hard edge bump, and here's the one with a slightly feathered edge. Again, I did kind of a bad job feathering the edge, but you can see it does give a little bit more, even that, it's much softer, so like this you get really, really hard lines in it, and this has like slightly more rounded edges. So that's usually why I recommend just take a little more time to actually do it nicely, but like just adding that little teeny bit of feather. You can still have like really intense indents, they just don't necessarily need to be as harsh. And sometimes it does help, like if it's not an issue with like, in this case it's just like the Photoshop brush I was using just like made hideous edges here, but like if it's a grain issue, then like a lot of times the feathering will also sort of help prevent that. Any questions on bump before I go on to other things, namely sampling? All right. Alrighty then, so I'm going to set up a derpy little scene with a derpy little sphere, and it's going to be amazing. Alright, so there's like 3 different places if you're doing stuff in Maya. There are